That's right. Or no, she's only one. Right.
All right, good evening, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order. And at this time, if you're able to rise, please do so for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll now open up the first hearing. Privilege of the floor. 30 minutes. Please just, if you're looking to address the board, give us your name and address. Please adhere to our 5-minute policy, as well as policy 1230 that's right above us there. So at this time, if anybody would like to address the board, please approach the microphone. All right, we will close the first hearing privilege floor. Remind everybody that we will have one towards the end of the evening. And at this point in time, we will turn the meeting over to our friends from SCI Design for our EV infrastructure update. The floor is yours.
Construction manager for all projects. Not because we're associated with SEI Design Group, we work well together. Anyway, so this, I think when we last spoke was back in November. There's actually been quite a bit of work done since then in terms of preparation with the state and also all the legal notices and such need to go in for this to be part of a proposition in your May vote. I'm just going to look through some of the slides you'll see before from a financial standpoint, but I've got some updates in terms of what's happened in the last few months. Namely, the site plan's actually moved a little bit further ahead because one of our tasks over the last 4 months was to apply for SEEKR, which is the State Environmental Quality Review Act. The determination was based on the amount of disturbed land. It was actually an unlisted action. Plus the fact that we were looking to remove the Buchendal building. So that was, you'll have seen, I think, in recent board meetings, you'll have passed a resolution opening the public comment period, and I believe in the last board meeting you had, it was the determination that the Board of Education would serve as lead agency, which is required in order for the project to move forward. Should the vote be successful in May, we would also be going through the entire SHPO review process as well, which I touched on last November. We've also been in contact with them as well. We had good dialogue back and forth with their representative, talking about the Buchendal building. In fact, that one's just the back and forth. That's a letter actually that came back at the beginning of the year, specifically requesting that we provide the State Historic Preservation Office a little bit more background on the Buchendal building, the reasons for why it fell into disuse, why it's no longer required as part of the school district's building stock, and the cost implications to bring it back online. Off the back of that, we will also be assisting the district in preparing an RFP that would go out to the public to be able to, if they want to be able to purchase the building and relocate it at their own cost, and that's entirely, a permissible way of relocating and keeping this building, in its current situation, but it would be an opportunity for someone to take the building and relocate it elsewhere, because we've looked at it, and on your current site, there isn't anywhere for it to go that wouldn't be a direct impact to the proposed layout and
even just some existing infrastructure issues with the stream, the softball field, the leach field, and also the bridge. So we've been working, as I say, back and forth with SHPO on getting a determination from them, but they understand the challenges that we face with this building. We're still projected, even with the, the costs here are also inclusive of escalation costs. Our plan was always for this to occur in 2026. Originally, we'd aimed at trying to kind of get a jump on the removal of the building, but I think from talking to Jack, it makes more sense to try and just take those summer months where it's least impactful to the students because of the buses, of course, coming and going during the school year. So we've got everything listed here, as we've shown in the past, comes out to a total project cost of $2.6 million. Ben Masloma, I think, was the one who was with me the last time we met, went through this in great detail as to how the project would be aided. I believe Mr. Giaquinto, I'm right saying this is a zero tax impact, is that correct? Yep. Of that, the Buchendale building, unfortunately, because it's not an instructional building that's part of your part of the SED building stock, it will not require, it wouldn't get any aid back on removal. Other factors, this is actually straight from your fiscal advisors, talks about the kind of the long-term planning for the chargers and also kind of any kind of money coming back to the district by way of grants. In meetings that we've had with Mr. Giaquinto and Ms. Currison, we've reached out to a third-party company that specialises in the fleet electrification study, which looks at the switch over from gasoline or diesel buses to EV and the routes and the type of bus that would be required for each and status of charge and all that sort of fun stuff that you can get lost in the weeds with. But it's they basically provide you with a very detailed report in terms of what buses you need for which route and how it gets and the sequencing of how they get charged. So we've also been looking
charging, how much
yep.
of use in the battery, and
yep.
to rotate the buses so that they're not all overused. A complete evaluation of how they're going to operate.
And also how you
As
stagger
we
it.
add more in the future, it will be a continual
Yep.
update.
Yep. And it's also a requirement as part of the NYSERDA funding as well, that we need to have that study done. So that's in the process as well. This is a look at the amortization rate over 15 years. That's actually over 15 years of the debt service for this project, which will be in your board packet. And then, this is essentially this comes out to be, as I say, zero tax impact. So there's no tax impact to the public. The last date, well, let's say the kind of, we're currently in this highlighted section here. All the other portions of the timeline have fallen into place. We'll be working with the district if there's any kind of like graphics required as part of any public mailers that go out for your vote in May, if required, and then everything is sort of geared towards that May 20th budget vote. And as we've talked about before, if it is successful, again, I haven't changed that from March to May, we'd be looking at the project design and then into SED this summer with bidding in late fall probably, if we can, with the intent of trying to get as many kind of contractors as possible before they're booked up for the rest of the year. And then, as I say, we're targeting summer of 26 with the construction schedule. We looked at this last time, so we've been working with Clara on the kind of the process by replacement of your EV buses, how many each year you would have to do in order to meet that mandate of 2035 of all EV buses. The first of them would be arriving kind of next year, but potentially I think by 2027 you need to begin purchasing them.
Right. Should arrive in the fall.
Yep.
Right.
Before I jump to an update on the 2024 capital improvement project, does anybody have any questions about the EV infrastructure portion of the presentation?
I had a couple.
Sure.
Is the mic working?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Look at that construction, it's looking like July through August 2026, parking lot reconstruction. Is that the main parking lot or overall, both?
Yes, all, the entire parking lot.
Okay,
All
and,
the buses will be moved to place, and then to be determined, and you would need that whole area. And over the
Okay.
course of the 10 weeks, it would be pretty much excavated to the proper depth. I think there's 18 inches of sub-base that needs to be compacted, and then different depths, there's the two asphalts, one's heavy duty, one's light duty, and all the conduit would be in place, and paths for all future chargers, so that as you get down to 2030, 2033, those chargers are going to be so more efficient than what we can even get now. We're not pulling any wire, but we have the infrastructures for that when these stuff happen. We can do whatever we need to get them energized and be able to.
all right.
Yeah, I mean, this,
And we need that time. We need that time, and it's a lot of work to get all of that
Yeah,
out.
I'm going somewhere with this, so
Okay.
that, I'm afraid there were, obviously, construction delays happen all the time, right? That might fall into September. Not here?
Not in this, no.
not on his watch.
Okay, I hope not, because I'm sure Hal will be mad if football season gets, slowed down because the parking lot getting worked on right now.
That question's coming when you're done.
That was my
Okay.
question too.
And it looks like, from the pictures, doesn't do much justice here, it looks bigger now, the overflow.
So the overflow is based, well, we originally were sketching it out, it was prior to us getting a topographical survey of that.
We just had Bolton Land survey do a complete layout of all the property. So we get an easement from the softball corporation or organization for parking. And part of the project would be some infrastructure, some paving or gravel for the parking area for the employees that work during the day. But it would not infringe on the sports field because they're after school and weekends. And so it more or less, it benefits both.
I appreciate it, I parked this, I know how terrible parking is right now, so I appreciate it.
I believe this.
Just want to get you a can of chalk so you can make your own mind.
Sure.
Doing good.
I got spray paint, trust me.
I believe when we looked at the site plan, this area that's actually shown in, I think the plan was for it to be crushed stone.
Yes.
Is actually like a footprint of what's used right now. So in terms of car quantity down there,
Okay.
so I believe, I mean, the kind of the arrangement with the easement has to be written in terms of softball using it when it's not being used by the school district. This quantity right now is based on the quantity of drivers you have coming to the site each day to drive buses. So we're looking to actually have no.
47 buses,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have at least 47 plus staff of 12 to 15, I would say, that are in and out.
So I'm sure the question will be, why we're replacing all of the blacktop through both sides?
Weight of these buses will.
The weight?
Oh, yes, the weight of an EV bus is.
Well, I should also, I'll point out this one. So prior to the EV infrastructure project, there was actually Mr. Giaquinto had asked us to look at Glen Warden and also bus garage parking lots because both were failing. Glen Warden got priority in terms of getting, obviously, students there and staff. So we reconstructed that entire parking lot, and the plan was always to reconstruct the bus garage parking lot also. And when more funds became available, it was put on a temporary hold until we determined, what else needed to be done to it. So we weren't going to spend a lot of money, of the taxpayers' money, on reconstructing a parking lot if we knew that there was going to have to be some sort of infrastructure underneath it. So as we stand right now, even if the EV bus thing was never to occur or doesn't, end up seeing the light of day, we need to be able to provide and put in conduit underneath the parking lot, so we're not then digging it up in 2-3 years' time if that was the requirement. So
Every 3 years, or we could put all the pads in now.
yeah, most of it, yeah.
One charger, that's 2 buses right now overnight, but who knows what's going to happen in 5, 7, 10 years.
Most of the cost that's derived out of this is from reconstruction of the parking lot, the removal of the Bucadell building, and
some electrical service upgrades, which was highlighted in part as part of the ECS back in 2024.
The generator, the top priority with electric buses.
And do we know what manufacturer we're going with for buses?
I don't know which bus I'm not.
Okay.
I'm sure there's.
We're meeting with Leonard Bus in a couple of weeks to see what's out there, what the timeline is, stuff like that. That's what we deal with our regular buses with. They're also in the EVs.
Okay.
We're meeting with them shortly.
We went to, was it Lions that we went for a ride?
Yeah, but the ice cream,
Yeah.
those, yeah.
And,
I think they laid off a lot of people, though. Lions, I think they got in trouble.
Okay, and didn't we approve this last year and last year?
Orders approved going out to buy, I think 4 of them.
Okay.
So that's what we're gonna try to do. Because it's so long it takes to get them in here, so they're coming in about when this thing's ready to charge. Jack, even if we didn't get this done, we would be able to put some charging stations in probably for like 4 or 5 buses, right?
yes, yes.
And my main concern with all this is that these buses going out for athletic events, going distance, Glens Falls, what have you, you know, you don't want to get stranded and, you know, to call parents and come get your kid from Glens Falls, whatever it is.
No,
The charges on
that's
it, basically.
very good, and, you know, I happen to live in another school district that has EV buses, and I see teams leaving on the buses. I'm sure when they're going to Queensbury or Amsterdam or wherever they may be going, they would also have a charger, or they have portable chargers that, if in the event that, you know, just like a gas station, you know, it's gotta be a place for them to plug in. And I think the other schools, I believe, accommodate other schools to allow them. Now, I'm sure they charge you for it, but,
Yeah, I mean, South Glens also would be coming to you as well, so
Right.
it's a reciprocal.
right.
I
So,
have to worry about Scotia right now. That's my main concern.
No, I know, I'm just saying that
But yeah.
I think it's much the way all school districts are sort of grappling with this kind of change.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing even just dealing with consultants who are doing the electrification plans.
that goes back to the fleet electrification plan that, you know, bus number 3, you know, it's not going out on runs all day, it's for the softball team or wherever that's going. So it's fully charged and ready to roll.
Okay.
It's not gonna be after, you know, out all day, because they can't, you know, they're not made to last as in just pull up and fill it up. No, they're charging, I don't know how long it takes to work for hours. Even a quick charge is 4.
Depends on the level of the charger.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right. So we're targeting a mixture mainly of the level 2s because it's a slow trickle,
Right.
and then the level 3s are designed for kind of if they come back after a morning run and they need some extra juice, you know, for their afternoon.
Fast charger?
Right.
Yeah,
Fast
that's-
charger?
that's level 3, yeah.
You don't want to do that because it shortens the battery life and you have high peak demand from grid.
Yeah.
So the most ideal is to have them trickle overnight where it's low peak. And that's what a lot of the other school districts are doing. It's set up that they're all timed for night, alternating, however.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
So can we go back to the map for a second?
Sure.
We love that map. So one of the reasons you said we need to demolish Bucadell is because you plan on putting something in its place, right? The conduits or something? Am I understanding that correctly?
Oh, no, there's 2 step-down transformers and a generator. And how the power would come in, we would need to utilize that area to start, yes, that general area
Okay.
as to branch. We're branching all over, so if we go from one end, it's even more of a cost for us to bring it back to charge the other end. So pick it in the middle and go with that.
I also had our consultants just on the site just run a scenario where the Buchandel building couldn't be removed, and we couldn't fit. We only fit, I think, 37 buses. So we're missing 9 buses that we couldn't fit on the site.
Okay.
So it was. We did look at it because I just wanted all eventualities if we couldn't remove the Buchandel, and there's no way to be able to get all your buses onto the site.
And the first chargers are supposed to be right along 140 47, because that's the shortest route right now for any wire, but all the other locations will be, all the underground will be in. So wherever we need in the future. We don't know, but it's easier now to put it all in and preserve the asphalt parking lot than keep tearing it up.
Okay, well then that leads me to the letter from Parks and Rec, because I want to get a little more detailed into where we are in the process. I'm not sure I quite understand. I know they've sent the letter to us on January 16th. When did we respond? Have we responded to that letter?
No, not yet, because there's the amount of information they're requiring. We don't have to have SHPO sign off until we go for SED approval in the event that a project is actually greenlit in May. More often than not, we actually don't even engage with SHPO until the project becomes a reality. The intent for us is to go through all. We've worked with SHPO for years and years in similar situations where we've had to remove a building that would be potentially on the historic register, and so we know in terms of our marching orders what we need to provide them in terms of information. One of which is a detailed kind of thorough inventory of the building. So we'll get a professional photographer to come in, document the building. We will provide them with a letter from the district, basically stating all the kind of background behind the building in terms of why it was deemed to be surplus to needs and why it's been allowed to. Well, say not allowed, that's the wrong term, but it has fallen into disrepair over the years. It's just we've had there's a lot of justification that could be put forward to why the building is a candidate for removal. And one of the last things I think I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation was we would put it out for RFP for someone to purchase. If there's enough interest in retaining the building, then it's potential that someone could, in all fairness, purchase the building and remove it to another location at their expense as part of that proposal. And that's something we put into the local papers as well for anybody that wishes to own the Buchendale building.
Okay, so because my concern is we're asking the public to vote on a project that we don't even have a full answer yet about the Buchendale building, and you've just mentioned now that we don't have a plan B, essentially. So are you not going to be responding to this until after the vote? Is that what you're saying?
I can respond to it between now and the vote, but I think the amount of stuff that needs to go in to satisfy them is probably, it will not be resolved in time before the May vote.
The electrification plan that we're just in the application process, so now they haven't even done the complete study.
Well, how long do they usually take with this kind of process with respect to them asking us for information about a historical building? We have to provide them the information. We haven't done that yet, which I understand. Believe me, I've had to respond to things like this. It takes a while. Believe me, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to figure out a timeline.
So the example I keep citing is actually, it was Baker Central School District over towards Buffalo, and that from start to finish, I believe was like I want to say it was about a 6 to 8 month process from initial from
the initial letter, like this letter, to being resolved.
Yeah, because they went through, because after the discovered, okay, we need to show the investigative effort from the district that they've looked at all possible avenues for this building. And part of it was looking out for RFP to see if anyone wanted to purchase it. There was also the documentation process. There was, well, you can see through it, there's a lot of stuff that they want, so they can have something in their archives in the future. If you ever wanted to go back and look at that building, then they have something they can refer to. So not just a photograph from outside and a quick description. It needs to be fairly detailed. Fortunately, in our office, we have a number of historic preservation architects who have worked in other firms and well, quite frankly, they're fighting me to build this building, but they're going to be joining us in terms of like preparing the report that we go back to the State Historic Office. So it's a double-edged sword in the sense of like how much effort you put into this project and if it's going to be approved or not.
Well, that was going to be my next question. I obviously know you don't have a crystal ball. Mm-hmm. However, based on your company's experience and all, do you think this is going to be successful for us to be able to convince Parks and Rec to say yes, you can demolish the building?
Based on past experience and certainly conversations with the office, yes, I believe it will be successful.
Thank you.
It's just a long process.
Yeah. It's just about satisfying their needs.
I have one more thing. If you could go back to the map again.
That's not that
Get your t-shirt with a
I
map on it.
know.
Yes.
So we're running power conduit from by the firehouse
Yeah, so there's...
across 147 on over or
So there's
under?
overhead. No, it's overhead. Yeah. So
Overhead.
There's a utility pole right around about here,
Okay.
and we run across the top of 147, hit a utility pole, drop down into the transformer, and then it goes to, I think it's goes straight across to the building at that point.
We do go straight across to the building, and then we hit the generator, part of it,
Yes.
it's off to the right. That also goes, both of those go through the main building, and then from the generator, we'd go to branch out to, we would have larger lines going into smaller lines, so that we,
We're not gonna go to each individual one, but there will be a base trunk where we can have a pad already poured so that you can mount the charger with conduit coming up, size with what we would, conduit size, you know, maybe it's all 4 inches, I'm not sure the exact size, but so that we would have access to them in the future, for whatever that may be.
For the most part, the perimeter is an easy. That's always an easy
Yeah.
one because you've got this grass around the outside, so we can excavate down and run conduit through there. But we have a number of buses that are going to be. You can see the sort of diagonal parking across here. This utility strip that runs between the two would house a whole bunch of conduit for handholds that come up.
That would be concrete.
Be future chargers. So we can you
Right.
put in a handhold, which is like a box that sits flush with the ground, and then we can put in charging like pedestals after the fact. Because I think ultimately, as Jack alluded to, like the technology 10 years from now, 5 years from now, actually could be significantly different. So the expense actually is not so much the chargers and the buses currently. I mean, it will be an ongoing expense, but this project is really more about, as the title suggests, it's the infrastructure to allow you to be able to add into it as you go, as you need. So you're not buying, 26 chargers right off the bat. You're going to slow trickle it in as you replace your buses. Yeah. And conduit's cheap. The thing is,
Right.
conduit to put in now is cheap as when
Now,
you're putting it after the fact.
And you're gonna have to buy the charger.
those buses, the 2028 buses are gonna need a 2028 charger. I don't believe they're gonna be all universal. Sometime in the future, maybe, but right off the bat, if we go to different brands of buses, as we're supposed to project buying 27, 28, 29, obviously, different companies could come along with a better model. We could switch from brand A to brand B. So brand B is still gonna need a brand B adaptable charger, whatever that may be.
I don't think we'll have Wi-Fi charging yet.
No.
Never mind.
So my main concern is that when we run that line from the firehouse area to go over 147, how's that going to affect traffic during that time when we're installing it? Or when we're
Oh my,
Yeah, it's nice over there. Yeah, like National Grid run this all day long.
I never did it before, so I wouldn't know, so that's what I'm asking.
I asked the same question last year, and I was
Okay,
surprised with the answer that
Okay.
there would be no impact.
Okay.
No, that's,
But, yeah.
they park on one side of the road,
I understand
park on
why
the
you're
other.
All right,
It's
perfect.
a weird intersection to begin
Oh,
with. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up there, and it's
Busy,
a little
so, all
wonky. Yeah.
right, thank you.
Going back to the asphalt, y'all were talking about double thickness or however it's put in, and you're talking about our other facilities. Are we gonna have to look at, in the near future, repaving our facilities, at the schools specifically, when they're coming in and the buses are sitting? Is that a minimal amount of time where we don't have to worry about that, or is that something we're gonna have to look at down the road?
So over the course of the last kind of like...
Yeah, this is our last, pretty much park lot.
Well, I'm talking about like
School.
at Glenwood, when they come in through the bus ring and they sit there 15 minutes. Is that enough time that we're gonna see considerable usage, that we're gonna have to rip it up sooner? Or is that a minimal amount of time that they can be in and out and won't affect what's there? I'm just concerned that down the line, we're gonna have to see increased repaving.
So when we did those parking lots, we put in, like, wherever we had a bus loop, we put in heavy-duty asphalt in that
Heavy-duty
part.
asphalt.
Any of the kind of staff parking areas are medium duty, so it's like the binder
Yeah.
course is, I We'll see. It's,
Inch and a half.
yeah, it's been inch and a half for the medium, and 3 for heavy duty. So we've always planned for bus traffic on the bus loops in these areas. So
It's what's underneath.
yeah,
So in the heavy duty, there could be 12 to 18 inches, in the light duty, 6 to 8 inches of compacted subgrades. Light duty would be all the areas you're gonna park your cars. Normal vehicles, not where the buses are gonna be.
Okay.
And we would do the same where the buses would be with any cars.
yeah.
Perimeters, the more of the driving areas is where you want the heavy duty.
So when we did the high school back in 2019.
Yeah.
That one was with heavy duty paving.
The bus loops,
middle school,
right.
2022.
Middle school,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then also, I was just curious if you have been briefed on anything from National Grid, because I know the last time we were here, we were talking about the infrastructure of them being able to withstand all the charge demand that they're going to have. I know what I can read in the media, which is minimal. Have you guys been briefed on anything on what their efforts are to make sure they're going to be able to meet the demand by 2027? Or are you guys just reading the Gazette just like me?
I don't believe what I read most of the time, so,
I said
I just,
they're aware of it.
they're very aware of it because they would not be giving us back a 90% credit for all of their work if they couldn't provide the power. And what they determined was they're putting in enough power for 40-something buses, not for 4. I mean, they're giving you all the capability. That's why there's transformers. They're ready to have to put a step-down transformer in the first 2 years because of less need for the big one.
All right. Appreciate you, fellas.
Any other questions on the EV before I jump to the update on the 2024 CIP? Going once. There we go. So we're out to bid for the 2024 capital improvement project. It's the one that has all the secure vestibules in it, as we talked about before. Originally, the bid date was scheduled for actually last Wednesday, the 2nd. Both Jack and I have had separate phone calls with interested contractors requesting an extension to the bid date. We had conferred with Mr. Giaquinto as well in terms of like how best to approach it. You know, we're potentially losing 2 weeks for contracting, but ultimately by encouraging more responsible contractors into the bidding process, it creates a more competitive environment. It creates a better value for the district to get more bang for the buck, so to speak. So I think with even just the extra 2 weeks that we've added, it's another 2 GCs that have expressed interest. I believe there might even be another mechanical contractor interested. So we've increased that pool that we can draw from. So on the 16th, when we open bids, we're hoping for at least 3 in each category, which will give us a nice kind of like healthy bid environment. Off the back of that, Jack and I will be meeting with the lowest responsible bidders from each of the prime contracts on the 17th and 18th of that week, which is the Thursday and Friday. And then we would prepare a recommendation letter to you folk in order to determine who's going to be awarded the contract. And I think that would occur, you saw that on the...
It's on for the April 24th, the next board meeting.
April 24th.
For approval.
Yep. And in that time, our job is really just to kind of vet out the contractor. So when we meet with them to do descoping, we go through all the work that they have, that we understand them to have in the project. They can have a chance to kind of throw up a red flag. Usually when there's a number that's way off base, we give them an opportunity to say, our mistake, there was a accounting error, and they can be allowed to withdraw. But usually, more often than not, that's only happened kind of like a couple of times.
Actually, it happened at the last bid. We had a plumber that was about a third lower than 2 other bidders. And I didn't recognize the name, but when he came in for the interview, I had worked with him 20 years prior, and he works by himself.
Yep, self-performs.
Works by himself, and he did the entire project by himself, and he was way ahead of schedule. So that's why he was that much lower, and he did an excellent job for us. But without going through that process, you look at the number, wow, this guy's way low. You know, it must be crazy. But he had everything we questioned. Yes, I have that, I have that, I have that. And that made, you know, we were able to sleep that night. We didn't have to worry about it.
Yep.
So,
And more often than not, we'll create like a letter of intent, which is like a notice to proceed, which allows them to kind of like start getting their bonds
payment
and their
performance bonds and their insurance, and then
the submittals schedule,
contract.
because they understand that obviously there's a tight time frame for them to get Lincoln turned around this summer. So that's going to be our primary focus, is to get the boiler replacement at Lincoln. There's some other kind of like secure vestibules we're able to do as well, but the bulk of the summer is going to be focused on Lincoln. And as I say, like May 1st, we're looking to try and get the mechanical contractors into the basement.
There's a tremendous amount of work that they can do prior to us turning the boilers off.
Yep.
And then prior to the abatements starting when school's out.
So like Jack mentioned with the last project, at the high school we had the domestic water line was completely replaced by that contractor, and he was able to get in and run all new lines prior to summer, so that, you know, you get a jump on it, you're down in the crawl space, you're out of the way, and it's just, you know, busy work.
A lot of pipe to run to the 2 long corridors of Lincoln from where the new boilers are going to be, so they can do all that piping now.
So that's also an attractive proposition to any bidders looking at it, where they're like, we can get a jump, because most of the districts in the area, they're all looking at that June 27th date, and that's when, you know, abatement contractors are being swallowed up left, right and centre, because that's when they can get in and do stuff. So we're looking to try and make this a more attractive proposition to bidders and say, no, we can actually get you guys going almost 2 months early.
And that's, SCD requires us to have the boilers operating through May 15th. And we, at that time, we as a group look at what the temperatures have been and what they're projected, and at that we will set a date for them to actually start taking the boilers apart. Prior to any abatements, there's a lot of pipes that have to, downline, that have to be disconnected and being replaced. And they can prep for all the abatement prior to school, the 27th, when the last kid gets on that bus, then they can start removing. But until that, it's all prep work, and any pipes that they can get done ahead of time, well, that saves time. It has to be back up and running by September 15th. So it's a tight schedule, and I'm confident we can get it done, as we did at Glendale, as we did at Glenville.
Any questions about the capital improvement project? Is there more to say?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, we'll turn it over to Renee Schwartz for her comments.
Thank you. And I'm going to cede my time to Mr. Arquette, who's going to talk a little bit about ASI services at the middle school. Before I do that, I do, though, just want to say I was able to attend the high school's Adams Family Musical on Saturday, and the kids did an incredible job, just an incredible job. So, Mr. Arquette, what would you tell us about middle school?
Sure, there's a question last board meeting about the number of students receiving AIS and ELA at the middle school. So we pulled the numbers. This year we have right around 82 students receiving AIS support for ELA at the middle school level.
Is that delivered every day, Rick?
It varies by program. Some are every day, some are every other day, depending on what intervention the student's receiving.
Are we expecting that same number next year?
I would expect a similar number, yes.
How many students does a reading teacher usually have in a school year?
It depends on the class. So for example, like our Wilson reading, which is a tier 3 intervention, those are small groups, 4 to 5 students. Just Words is a tier 2 intervention at the middle school. Those can accommodate up to 15 students, but we started the year with about 7 students in each of the Just Words sections. Our literacy support, which is like an AIS lab, we want those to be around 6 students. So those are the primary interventions and the group size for each of those. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Captain.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our reports, update, we'll start with legislative.
Yes. First off, on April 3rd, the Federal Department of Education sent out a demand letter certifying that each state had to certify that they were in compliance with their anti-discrimination obligations. And the New York State Department of Ed responded on behalf of the entire state. They're not requiring each of the districts to respond, saying that we are in compliance. State budget is still ongoing. They just moved for another extender through to Wednesday. It looks like we're probably school aid is not really an issue in the budget. The things that are an issue are mostly outside school aid. Cell phones still are in a discussion, though. It looks like we're on track to prohibit cell phones from beginning to end. I know some districts were talking about allowing them to have it during lunch and that sort of thing, but it looks like that's going to be a no-go. So that looks like it's going to be a part of the budget. That's all I've got.
Thank you. PTA,
Next council meeting is on the 23rd, in 2 weeks. Elementary units have finished their after-school activities. And Founders Day, I heard, was a great success. Sorry I wasn't there, but it was great. Teacher Appreciation is coming up in May. And actually, the PTA Council is going to have a activities area during the Jumping Jacks fireworks. So what's it called? I'm sorry, what's it called? Chalk? Walk the chalk? Or?
We're going to be doing a chalk the walk again. We did it last year, and then we're just going to work with other organizations to come in, facilitate Rotary Ring and being the kids zone.
And that's all I have.
Nice. Audit Committee, we have a meeting on May 27th. So let's that around, just make sure we respond back to Drew. Board of Education goals, policy.
We met 2 weeks ago, not quite 2 weeks ago, with Kathy Smith. Kimmy and I went through, looked at what was there on 0 up through the 3000s. Those have all been changed as far as getting rid of the pronouns and stuff out of them and changing that language that we needed to change. We came across several that are going to need to be reworded, several policies, and Kathy is working on getting those together on a sheet to bring to you so that all of you can approve those, and then we should be done through the 3000s, and we're going on from there. Everything has been done once, but we're going now to make sure it's all done in the computer, and anything that needs to be changed will get changed.
We just need to schedule the 3,000 to 5,000, go over that with Kathy, and then you guys would get that after the second set when we've had the first run with Kathy for the first vote. And then Pam and I are going to finish up the 7,000 to 9,000s, and once they're all set, we should have them all done.
Beautiful, thank you. Let's see, last budget, any budget discussion?
No.
All right, moving on. Speaking of budget, can I get a motion, please, for final adoption of the 25-26 budget?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the final adoption of the 2025-2026 budget.
Thank you, John. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussions? All right, if not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? If I get a motion for item number 8, please, the tax report card.
I'll make a motion for the property tax report card for 25-26 school year as submitted.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Jen. Anyone have any questions on this discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Or abstain? So moved. And motion please to accept the December 24 extra classroom activity report, please.
I'll motion to accept the December 2024 extra classroom activity report.
Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Pam. Questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. And motion on resolution number 10, please, to accept donations for senior awards and scholarships.
I'll make a motion that we, accept donations for various senior high school award scholarships as submitted.
Thanks, Emily. A second?
Second.
Thanks, Jen. Questions, comments?
Just thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Thanks. Motion on resolution number 11, please. Excuse me.
I move that the board approves a resolution dated April 7th regarding authorization to grant the requested easement to the town of Glenville in order to install, operate, and maintain underground piping and infrastructure for the town water system as submitted.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Comments, questions?
I had a question. Do you know where this easement is? Is it?
Do you know where the middle school fields are? The girls softball is and the boys JV fields are. It's come right across there onto our property.
Okay.
You can see all the equipment there and the big.
Oh,
piping.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yep.
Thank you.
So when are they gonna start?
They're starting now. We were told the board has to approve it, but we can get them to, because they're immobilized and already starting, and the attorney said there was no problem doing that. They were there already, so.
Does it affect any of our students using the fields for sports?
Nope.
That's it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. I got a motion, please, for resolution item number 12.
I'll motion to approve the resolution for emergency application of an appropriate pesticide.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thanks, Jen. Questions on this? Comments? All right, none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstain? So moved. Motion, please, for item number 13, to request an overnight trip.
I'd like to make,
Go ahead. What do you want to go?
I'd like to make a motion to request for an overnight field trip with the French Club to Paris, Nice, France, April 2nd, 2026 to April 9th, 2026.
Anyone a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Emily. Questions, comments?
C'est incroyable.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstained? So moved. A motion on communications, please.
I'll move communications A through H. I will move the tenure of Ariel Joyce and staffing 1 through 4, as well as the placement of students with disabilities.
I'll check. Second.
Thank you both. Any questions or comments on all that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? So moved. Routine business. Anyone have any questions or comments about the internal claims, auditor report, warrants, or warrant report exceptions? All right, so moved. If I get a motion, please, for the minutes of the regular meetings from March 3rd, 10th, and 17th, please.
Can we do each of them
Yeah.
separately?
Sure.
Because
Absolutely.
some of us attended, some and not
Yep,
others.
so let's get a motion for the first one on March 3rd.
I'll motion to approve the regular minutes for the meeting of March 3rd, 2025.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Jen. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain?
I abstain,
Thank you.
because I wasn't there.
All right, if I get a motion then for the regular meeting on March 10th.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes from the regular meeting of March 10th, 2025.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you both. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed or Abstain? So moved. And a motion for a special meeting on March 17th, 2025.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the special meeting, March 17th, 2025.
Thanks, Chad. Second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain, I wasn't there.
Thank you both. All right, moving on to other business.
I just would, were you gonna say something? Did I just cut you off? Okay. I just have to say about the musical this weekend. I was playing in the orchestra, so I had my back to the stage, and so I couldn't see what was going on. But the sounds that I heard, if you know me, you know that I will always talk about how I'm a professional musician, and you know that I'm also a really super critical person. And I just could not believe some of the things that I heard from the students. And these orchestra books in the pit, nobody writes those so that high school students can play them. They are meant to be played by professional Broadway level musicians. And frankly, when somebody says, any teacher anywhere says, oh, I'm going to fill my pit with students, I kind of say, oh, okay, that's a lovely gesture. But these students, and to have 3 percussion students in one school playing 3 different books with the level of nuance and polish that they played with this weekend it was just unbelievable to me. All the students were, I think that's the best student pit orchestra that I've heard maybe in my entire life. It was so good, and I'm going to call out an individual student for the show to end. You know, again, I can't see anything, but then I hear Ryan Jester's voice at the end, and I don't even know what to say about that. That sound should not come from a high school student. He's just absolutely magnificent. So I mean, all of the students I was just so thoroughly impressed, and there was no place else I wanted to be the entire weekend. And then, that being said, I've talked to the board, but it's come to my attention that maybe I should say something publicly, but I will not be seeking another term on the board at this time. I'm having some serious health issues that are not resolving because I haven't stopped long enough to let them get better. So my body is saying it is time to take a rest. So I reserve the right to come back at a later date and maybe run at another time, but not at this time. But it has been my extreme pleasure. So thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Thanks, Emma.
I had a question, well, actually 2 things. Last week we talked about yourself and Drew, Susan, you were going to meet with Glenville specifically about the police department. Did anything come of that by chance?
We're still trying to land on a date when everybody's available. The break next week, I think, is from folks with children particularly off.
Right on. Thank you. And then I just want to say, going through the agenda on Friday just broke my heart. There's so many folks that are moving on from us that have played a really big part in a lot of kids' lives. And so I really appreciate you guys, and thank you for all you've done, and I wish you all the best as you move forward.
Thank you.
I had a couple of things I wanted to bring up. It had been on all the papers the last week about the stop arm on the buses, and now we're going to be starting charging fines starting May 1. Is the district going to be getting any of those funds?
No.
Has there been any discussion on that since they're fines or as a result of the work that we did?
The administration and the cameras are all from bus patrol, so they're doing all the vetting out and reviewing all the footage and this and that, so the condition of them, the contracts with the town and bus patrol, so we're getting the safety for our students and drivers through this with no out-of-pocket, so we're not collecting any of the fines.
I also wanted to talk, I didn't get an opportunity during our board goal part, but I wanted to talk that one of the goals along with the policies was to particularly look at weighted grades and APP. And when we did the calendar on September 23rd, today was going to be the day we were going to get a report on weighted grades. So I'm wondering where we are with that.
I think we'll be ready to go April 23rd. Yep.
And then last year on January 24th, we had the secondary admins talk to us about the different subjects. And what came up during that was, in my opinion, a large issue with grammar, and that there's no grammar curriculum from 6th grade to 12th grade. And I know, Rick, you had said, and somebody else had said something about something is being worked on, and we had asked for an update on that, and I thought we were going to be getting it by the end of last year, but we're 15 months later, and I'm not hearing anything, so I was wondering, where are we on some sort of grammar curriculum for our secondary students?
I think we can probably present on that with the weighted grades presentation when we come back from break.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other business? All right, if not, at this time we'll open up the second hearing privilege of the floor. Just to remind everybody, it is 30 minutes. Anybody that wishes to address the board, please step up. Podium, state your name and address once we stop breaking it. Once, no twice. All right, we'll close second hearing and privilege of the floor. Ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
And a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed or abstained? Thank you, everybody. We'll see everybody on April 23rd.